Hello there, and welcome to the Double Zero Challenge channel. We do just one thing on this channel, and that is to take these two dice and see how long it takes before they show a double zero. These are two D10s. All I ask is that if you wish to play along, please write down your guess now, but please don't disclose the result in the comments. Let other people watch the video and find out for themselves. We'll explain the rest as we go along, but we potentially have, statistically, we've got 100 rules ahead of us, but in practice, we'll see what happens. So, rule number one, and that is a 9 and a 6. Remember, it's only the double zeros that matter, although we will take account of any doubles that come out, just for fun though. And that is a 9 and an 8. And we have there a 5 and a 1. And that is a double 9. So like I said a moment ago, we'll put that down just to see how many other doubles come out in our pursuit of the double zero. Rule number 5. And that's a double 1. Put that downstairs. And that's a 0, but it's also a 1, so it doesn't count for our purposes. And that's a 0, but a 5. Again, doesn't count. And that's a 3 and a 2. And we have a 2 and an 8. And that's a 5 and a 4. And we have a 4 and a 1. That is a 0, but it's also a 6. And a double 4. That's our third double on the way. And that's a 4 and a 3. And we have a 0, but we have a 2. And that's a 6 and a 5. And a 0, but a 2. 7 and 5. A 2 and 4. And that's a 4 and a 5. Sometimes feels very much like reading out bingo numbers. We have there a 9 and a 1. And a 1 and a 4. And that's a 5 and a 1. A 0, but an 8. And that's a 4 and a 3. We have a 0, but a 1. And a 0, but a 7. And that is a 6 and a 7. We have an 8 and a 3. And a 2 and a 9. That is a 2 and a 5. And a 2 and a 5 again. And that's a 2 and a 3. And a 7 and a 6. Oh, a 0, but a 4. and that's an 8 and a 6. 3 and 6. That's an 8 and a 1. We have a 6 and a 0, and that's a 0 and a 7. And we have a 4 and a 6. A 3 and a 1, and that's a 5 and a 7. A 4 and a 1, and that's a 0 and an 8. As we approach 50, if we do get to the 50th one and 100, 150, etc., we're going to have a really big roll where hopefully it will produce the two magic numbers. Uh, to be fair, the roll does not have much of an effect on it, but it's something we do. But meanwhile, is a 2 and a 9, and that's a 0 but a 4, and that is a 6 and a 7, 0 but a 2. And roll number 50, both hands, and that is a 0 but a 4. And so we carry on for 100 rolls. That is an 8 and a 7. We have a 1 and a 9. On, it's not one to mark. There we go. We have a 6 and a 5. And that's a 5 and a 7. A 7 and a 1. And that's a 9 and a 2. A 2 and a 6. A 4 and a 2. And that's 7 and a 2. We have a 9 and a 2 there. And a 3 and a 1. 5 and 8. And that's a 6 and a 1. We have a double 9 there. So that goes on the pile. Remember, it doesn't count unless it's a double 0. That part is mainly for fun, mainly to track how whether it corresponds to the 1 in 100 statistic. And so far, more or less. And we carry on. That is a 2 and a 9. And we have a 6 and a 1. That's a 3 and a 4. And we have an 8 and a 1. A 5 and a 3. A 9 and a 5. And that's a 9 and an 8. Oops, excuse me. 8 and a 9, still a valid roll even if it's off the designated rolling area. You will notice there is minimal editing in these videos. If I make a mistake, you are highly likely to see it. And that is a double 2, our fifth double of the session. A 0 but a 5. And that is an 8 and a 3. A 7 and 6. And we have a 6 and a 9. And that is 9 and 2. And we have a 9 and a 2 again. And a 4 and a 3. That is a 5 and a 1. 8 and a 3. And that's a 2 and a 5. 1 and 4. 4 and 8. And that's a 4 and a 6. Whoops. 1 and 8. I love this cup because it makes a nice rattle, but the dice also jump out of it quite easily, so you've got to watch out for that. But we carry on. There we go. Double 3. I'm gonna say I didn't even think I was doing it that hard that time. Okay, let's be cautious. And that is a 1 and a 9. And we have a double 3. A 7 and a 4. And that's a 9 and a 2. A 7 and 8. It's an 8 and a 3. A 0, but also a 6. Coming up for roll 100 in a few moments. And that's an 8 and a 6. 7 and an 8. And we have a double 5 there. But will we have a double 0 soon? That is a double 7. That is our ninth double of the session. And it's also up to roll 100. So as we do every 50 rolls, nice big one. And that is a double 8. So 10th double, roll 100, statistically bang on track, except the elusive double 0. So let's carry on for roll 150. And that's a 7 and an 8. We have a 2 and a 9. And that's a 3 and a 4. A 7 and a 1. And that's a 1 and a 2. Brilliant. Love that. For what it's worth, it's a 5 on the floor and it's a 9 upstairs. So it's not crucial. Excuse me a second. I'm going to have to bend down. Not easy with headphones on. Shall we count that? Yeah, I'm counting it. It's my rules. It's an autocracy here. Right. Oh, look at that. I put them straight in the tub and it's 00. Don't know if you can see that under the light. However, doesn't count because it's not a roll. Let's carry on in this frustrating game. We have a 7 and a 2. And that's a 3 and a 2. A 2 and a 3. And that's a 6 and a 4. 0 but a 4. A 0 but a 2. And that's a double 8. It's the 11th double of the session. 9 and 7. And that's a 0 but a 6. And that's a 0 but an 8. And that's a 3 and an 8. Here we have a 3 and a 9. And that's a 6 and a 1. A 7 and 2. And that's a 1 and a 2. And we have it. We have it. A 00 on the rolling surface. Let's count out the tries. So 100, 110, 120, 122 rolls. And we have encountered 11 other double numbers on the way. So great stuff. Thank you so much for watching this game. Kind of an average one. You know, we expected 1 in 100. That's the statistic. We got 122 and roughly the equivalent number of other doubles. So you take care and roll on next time.